Hello everybody, Mr. Keeney here for our next section of our geometry notes. We're in Unit 1 still, and Unit 1 is all about developing our foundations of geometry. Today we're going to be talking about special angle relationships. So you're going to see a variety of angle pairs, and sometimes they're going to talk about their measures, sometimes they're going to talk about their placement in relation to each other. And in all things, we're going to use what we know about this to solve for angle measurements and some other identifying problems in this unit. So there's not much else to say other than let's start talking about these angle pairs. Our first two are very much related. We have complementary angles and supplementary angles. So complementary angles, they're two angles, a pair of angles, whose measures add up to equal 90 degrees. So you can see I've made some sketches here. You could have a situation where they are connected, which we're going to have a word for that later. But by that I mean you could have these two angles, and if they're connected, they'll make a big angle, which will be 90 degrees, which is a right angle. But we're looking at like this. This could be 40, and this could be 50. Those two smaller angles would be complementary because they're adding up to equal 90. However, they do not need to be connected. If we just had these two angles over here, we said this one, let's say it's 30 degrees, and this one's 60. Because 30 plus 60 is 90, we would say those two angles on the right are complementary as well. So as long as we have two angles that measures add up to equal 90 degrees, we will call those complementary angles. Now supplementary, I'm not even going to scroll. You'll see here that it's two angles that add up to equal. The difference is instead of 90, we get 180. So picture-wise, you're going to see something that instead of a right angle, it's going to form a straight angle. This bigger angle here is a straight line, a straight angle. So if we were to say this was like 120 degrees, I'm just coming up with one there, then this one would have to be 60 degrees. They add up to equal an 80. They do not have to be connected, which again, we're going to have a word for it. It's called adjacent. It's right down there. We could say that this one is like 110. This one, let's say it's 70. If this were the case, 110 plus 70 is 180. So we would call them supplementary because they add up to equal 180 degrees. So I've kind of mentioned for this next one, complementary angles and supplementary angles. They could be connected, which I'm no longer going to say that. I'm going to say they're adjacent. They're two angles that share. It's all about sharing. They share a common vertex and a side. So if I look at this picture here, the two smaller angles, they share a vertex and they share this side. And by the two smaller angles, I'm going to go ahead and show you as well. There's this red smaller angle here, and we have this green smaller angle here. And you can see that they share that vertex and that side. You can also see it in these two examples up here. The two smaller angles share a vertex and a side. They share a vertex and a side. So adjacent angles, they are next to and sharing vertex and side. And you'll see that when we combine angles together. Linear pair kind of takes two ideas and puts them together. So before I read it off, linear pair, there's a couple things. I want you to focus on the first part of linear, which is line. It will make a straight line. And the next part is it's a pair of angles that are adjacent and supplementary. If they are supplementary, meaning they add to equal 180 degrees, they will equal 180 degrees, and they share a vertex and a side, they are a linear pair. Two adjacent angles whose non-common sides are opposite rays, or what we like to say, a line, a linear pair. These two angles will add up to equal 180. So linear pair is taking adjacent and supplementary and kind of mashing those together. They will equal 180 degrees. And our last pair here is vertical angles. Vertical angles are two angles whose sides form two pairs of opposite rays, and which is another way we can think of lines. So you have this line and you have this line. And from there, I'm going to get rid of that. You can see that it creates four angles, angle 1, angle 2, angle 3, and angle 4. There's actually two pairs of vertical angles here. The first one, and you're going to see they're right across from each other at an intersection. So angle 1 and angle 3. And if you're wondering, which you probably should, okay, they're vertical angles, but what's the big deal about them? Do they add to equal 90? Do they add to equal 180? If they don't, the big deal is that they are equal. They're congruent. They're the same thing. And if I look at angle 2 and angle 4, it is also the same thing as far as 2 and 4 are congruent. Their measures are equal. So the big deal about vertical angles, their measures are equal. So let's look at some examples. Examples, we got a figure below. It says angle AB, and what we want to do is answer these prompts. It says angle ABD is complementary to what angle? So before we do anything, complementary, that means it equals 90 degrees. The two angles add up to equal 90 degrees. Let's find ABD. AB, and then we go over to D. So we're seeing it's 52 degrees. So if I want it to equal 90, I want to pick another angle that if I take 52 away from it, that's what it is. 90 minus 52 is 38, because I want 38 degrees because 38 plus 52 equals 90. I see this guy down here. That would be our winner because that's what we got when we took away 52 from 90. So what angle is complementary to angle ABD? It'd be angle BDC. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get, actually, I'm not going to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of this here. And let's switch to a different color. Let's go to a green. The next one, ABD, is supplementary to what angle? So supplementary, you think equals 180. So this time we're doing 180. It's the same ABD here. So here's ABD, which is 52. So we're going to take away 52 from 180. When we do that, we get 128. So this angle is going to be supplementary because if I were to add these two together, I would get 180 degrees, making them supplementary. So what is supplementary to angle ABD? It'd be angle, we could name it BDE. Okay. And our last one for this example here, I'll use a red. It says BDC is adjacent, which means they share a vertex and a side. So let's see, BDC, BDC. So I'm looking at an angle that shares this one. So it looks and shares that. So let me show you. They want to share this and this side, which we can see would be angle BDE again. So angle BDE. All right, there we go. Some examples for what complementary, supplementary, and adjacent look like on a figure, on a diagram. I'll go ahead and erase this so when I post the teacher notes, it won't confuse you too bad. Some pretty straightforward ones here. It says given angle 1 is complement of angle 2, complement. That means angle 1 plus, I should say the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 will equal 90 degrees. Complement. Then complementary equals 90 degrees. So if I want to find a measure of angle 2, what I really want to do here is I want to figure out, okay, 90 minus, they give me measure of angle 1 is 73. So minus, oops, that went crazy. 90 minus 73, which I am getting 17 degrees. So the measure of angle 2 is 17 degrees. Different color, let's do like a little purple. Supplements, this one we're thinking equals 180, and they give us the measure of angle 4 is 37. Find the measure of angle 3. So if I want the measure of angle 3 and 4 is 37, their total is 180. I'm going to take away 37 because that's what angle 4 is. And angle 3, I would get 143 degrees. Okay, moving on here. Identify all linear pairs and vertical angles in the figure below. Linear pairs. So linear pairs, they make a straight line. So I'm seeing one right now. Here's a straight line. And then if I were to look at both angle 1 and angle 2, I can see that they make up this straight line. Another one, because I see actually two. This right here is a straight line. And these two angles, angle 2 and angle 3, if I put them together, they get that straight line. So two pairs. And then vertical angles, they're angles that are directly across from each other. Let me get the purple. That would be angle 1 and angle 3, directly across from each other. Angle 1 and angle 3, they would be congruent to each other. I'll even put it down when I'm describing it. Okay. And then the last question here is we're going to use what we know about these angle pairs to find what they are. So angle 1, we're given that angle, well, this angle over here is 37. So I'm going to show you that we have a linear pair here with that angle and angle 1. They form a straight line. They are a linear pair. I'm going to do LP. So if I do 180 minus 37, that'll get me angle 1, which is 143. So this one is 143 degrees because they make this linear pair, the straight line. Let me change to a different color again. Let's do a lighter purple. Angle 2. So again, I could do the same thing here. Angle 2, these would make a straight line. So I'm going to get the same thing of 143. And what I want to point out to you is that we said that this is 143, and angle 1 was 143, and they're vertical angles. So it makes sense by vertical angles that these two would be congruent to each other. They're the same thing. And for a similar reason, if this is 37, then angle 3 would have to be 37 degrees because they're vertical angles. So vertical angles in a linear pair, you're always going to get this relationship that if we have two linear pairs kind of attached to each other, which is a lot going on, we're going to have a lot of relationships between these angles. And if you were to add, my final thing I'm going to mention is that if we were to go the full circle all the way around, if I did 37 plus 143 plus 143, we would get 360, a full circle. So there are notes for, actually our last online notes, if you're in my online section for Unit 1. There's some practice for you, and I am always available for help if you would like it or need it. So I will talk to you guys later.